Hello, welcome back. Here once again, we are at day 8 of the 28-day Just Talk challenge, and today I want to talk about something that I heard first from Allison J. Prince, who really brought a different perspective. And it shouldn't be that different, but as a mom of 4 working from home, kind of brought a perspective about thinking about living a successful business before you commit to how you're building your business. So basically the idea of expect success and make sure that you build your business in such a way that you're going to actually want to run it once it's successful. And obviously there's going to be some things in here that change over time, but what does success look like to you? Another speaker kind of put it that way. Dean Graziosi talks about 7 levels deep of the why, or take your why 7 levels deep. But I think it kind of boils down to the same thing of what does success look like for you, and getting pretty specific about what does a business look like that you will enjoy running. And this kind of came to mind today because I've been working out my framework of the different pieces of sharing your story, connecting with the people you want to serve, making sure that you are solving the problems, focusing on their wants and, the needs that you see, but really what do they want, whether or not it's something that you think is important, and where you take them from there. And one of the pieces of that is building a community. And the best place to build community is still Facebook. But I don't like Facebook. Facebook is, I don't know if you've ever seen those old Twilight shows or sci-fi shows where all of a sudden somebody gets psychic powers, which is great initially, but then they're hearing everybody's voices and everybody in their heads, and it just drives them insane. It's kind of what Facebook feels like to me. It's like I get so much disjointed information about people's lives that I find it really overwhelming. There's no kind of consistency or through line, and I just don't enjoy being on there. Now, I am in quite a few business groups on Facebook, but I honestly don't participate as much as I would benefit because I just don't enjoy the platform. So for me, even though Facebook probably is a good place to be, I will probably not build something that involves Facebook because I just don't like it. Now, for you, that may be a place that you love to be, or you don't mind, in which case you're like, all right, whatever, if that's where I need to be, that's where I need to be. For some people, it's LinkedIn. For some people, it's, all social media, and they just want to work in person. For some people, it's I never want to talk on the phone. So that's just one piece of how, like, where are you good with meeting your people? Because you need to meet them somewhere. Otherwise, you can't serve them. But where would you love to meet them if it makes sense based on where they're hanging out and where you like to be? Where do you not kind of care? Like, you'll show up no matter what. And are there places that you just would really have to grit your teeth to go to and engage on? Also, what do you want your week to look like? A lot of times I see things asking about what's your perfect day, but how many of us have a Monday through Friday that look exactly the same, and then a Monday through Sunday that look exactly the same? So I like to think of it as, what is my perfect week? Kind of taking into account that there's going to be ebb and flow, but what does that look like? And how many days of that are you focused on this endeavor? Is it your primary focus? Is it kind of a secondary thing? What hours do you want to focus on it? I am a morning person, so I like to do most of my creative and hard work in the morning, and I kind of lose steam, around 3. I might pick up a little bit later, but I know that that's my rhythm. So one of my challenges as well is I'm on the East Coast, so I'm already kind of ahead of most of America time-wise, but I'm a morning person, so kind of figuring out like, okay, like when is a time that works for my energy and my innate rhythms that also is going to work for everybody else's schedule. So I am not going to be doing something that starts at 10 p.m. my time to hit people on the West Coast at 7 because I might show up, but I'm not going to show up anywhere near my best self. But, I could do, with the right timing during the day, I could do, 4, 5, 6, and that could be okay. Also, how many days a week are you in on this? And you might love checking in every single day. You might only want to check in Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. You might want to do Monday through Thursday. There's no true right or wrong answer. There might, now if it's never, or if it's completely inconsistent, like where it might be 10 a.m. Monday and the next week it's 9 p.m. Tuesday, it's going to be really hard to build trust, or your people you're trying to serve to trust you, because they never know when you're going to show up. But I think, in general, if you identify early on and share early on, like, hey, this is my rhythm, this is, when I am here, when I'm going to be checking in, when I'm going to be following up, what kind of timeline you can expect, people will, I think that's where people get most frustrated, when they don't know what to expect, and then they don't hear from you in a timeline that whatever they think is reasonable doesn't match. But if you are upfront and say, hey, look, this is kind of what I do. Like, I don't check messages Sundays and Mondays. Like, that's my weekend. And so just know that please message me, but I'm not going to even look at it until Tuesday. Or, if you have children and you want to be really present with them, which is a drive a lot of people with kids have, that, you log out at 3 p.m. your time, 3 p.m. and after is family time. And again, so you may not be available at the ideal times, as long as you're available consistently and people can count on it. Like Emily D. Baker actually does this. She is the laundered. And yes, my name was inspired from her. But she does her live streams kind of midday, which isn't necessarily ideal. A lot of people would love her to do them after work or first thing in the morning when they're working out. But, she's upfront. She's got kids. She, has a husband that she wants to see. And she's like, look, it's not maybe the ideal time for everybody, but it's what works for me in my schedule. And so this is when I show up. But she shows up consistently. She shows up 3 times a week at 11 a.m. And that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So she does midweek. So she has more weekend freedom for the activities she wants to engage in. And occasionally she'll do, depending on the case, like 8-hour streams and, do different days. But her general routine is set. People can expect it. They've worked it into their schedule if they really want to listen to her, whether it's a repeat or they just listen in the background while they're working. But she made it work for her based on what else she is there for in life. So the other piece is, so we talked about kind of where you want to meet your community, kind of the schedule you want to follow, what your ideal week looks like. Another piece is, do you want to be doing this alone, so it's just you managing you? Do you like having a team? Do you want that team to be kind of consistent part-time people, in country that you actually see in person? Do you want it to be virtual assistants? It could be anywhere in the world. Do you want to just freelance out certain jobs but keep most of it in-house with just bits and pieces that go out? And how big do you want to be? Because those two things definitely go hand in hand. Another buisness, who I have recently done some training with and really enjoyed, she talks pretty openly about, it wasn't her, it was another trainer, but she didn't want to have a team. So she knows that her earnings are somewhat capped based on the schedule she wants to keep and the fact that she doesn't want to manage anybody else. But I don't mean her profits are less because she's just her. Anything she brings in, other than overhead, is hers. But that was a choice she made, that she's like, yeah, I'd rather stay at the 6-figure mark and not have a team than have to manage people and go beyond that. And that's what's right for her right now. She may change her mind later. She may not. She may even say, you know what, I'm good with 5 figures, but I only want to work, 8 hours a week. And I have a system that will meet that for me. And then what ways do you naturally gravitate to in terms of helping people, connecting people, teaching people, engaging with people in real life? Are you kind of the life of the party? Are you the one that gets to know everybody within 5 minutes of going to a new place? Are you kind of in the corner reading and just observing? Are you trying to avoid the party altogether? Do you, like, something that I naturally do is I always, if I read an article or see a book or watch a movie and think of like, oh, I think this person would really like this, and I share. Like, I'm kind of a connector by nature. I like to connect people together, people to new tools, people to new services, and I really just kind of like to kind of soak in a lot of different influences. So that's a good thing for me, and I'd love to learn from all these different other creators and kind of curate that for you and curate that for my upcoming community. So that's something I already like to do and can use that. Now, you may hate that. You may be like, I just want to know one person who's done it that I can follow. I'll follow their steps and not have to stress. And do you want to be that person for somebody? Do you want to have people just kind of trust you, do what you say, and you'll walk them through a process? Do you like to write? Do you like to talk? Do you like to be on video? Do you never want to be on video? Just really start to think about who you are. And then lastly, what are your values? And this kind of goes to kind of both like what you think, like the moral and ethical values, but also things that are more practical, like time, freedom, time with family, time to be creative. But it can also be things you love. Like for me, one of my kind of non-ethical, non-functional values is I love travel. That's really important to me. The ability to have the ability to explore the world, the ability to get out and explore my environment. So that's one of my values. I like to travel. And so I need to build a life, if I want to keep living it, that not only allows me to travel, but really supports my ability to travel. In fact, maybe is enhanced by me traveling. So that's kind of the topic of the day. What are your kind of boundaries? Is maybe too strong of a term. Those not all across the board, but some of them are going to be boundaries. But kind of what are the parameters that you know are critical for you to love the life that you live? And maybe as you come across that, there'll be some that aren't critical for you, that you're like, I can give on this, or just don't care one way or another on this. But the really kind of key thing here is, what do you need? If you, like when you build out a business that becomes very successful, that you love, what does that look like? And what doesn't it look like? All right, that is your thought of the day. I will see you tomorrow. I'm Brenna Murphy. I am Merch Nerd, signing off.